tonight. They got to see me.
I think if you got a guy like that, you build like that, 6'4", guy, you got to trust.
Everybody watching tonight. So I tell you what, if you can't find into the next, you're in the wrong business. We control us. We run this. And anybody coming out of house,
they got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back from Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something on this offensive line to combat that. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the End Zone Experience. Week 5 is in full effect. We got a heavyweight matchup coming your way Sunday night against the San Francisco 49ers, man. This is a rematch after 2 embarrassing losses in the playoffs the last couple seasons. Brock Purdy has yet to lose a regular season game, and we're trying to hand him his first L here in week 5.
Hey, he gonna have to lose sometime, right? And why? Why not us, man? I'm feeling good. You know what I mean, going into this one. It's something that's in the back of everybody's minds. I know some people are trying to downplay it, like, hey, it's just another game. But look, who are we kidding, man? We got 2 of the powerhouses in the NFC, and it means a lot, man. Home field advantage is on the line. And really, man, thinking back about that playoff loss and thinking back what happened last time, man, I think it means a lot for everybody, man. And how I'm feeling heading to this one, I know Dak Prescott himself, he's coming back out here to prove a point. Think about Tony Pollard and that injury he had the last time. He's always 2 completely teams, right? 2 completely different ball teams. But you know what I mean? I'm feeling good heading to this one. How you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good too, man. I think the line is reasonable, sitting at 3.5. I do like us to cover that 3.5. And possibly win this football game, man. I think that this team's got a point to prove. I think we've had some very embarrassing losses over the last couple seasons, and like the Arizona blunder, I do think these guys were looking way ahead of schedule, and I think this is a game that everybody's had circled on the calendar over there in Dallas.
But listen, man, what's crazy is, Arizona played San Fran well. They did play well. And it happens. Like we said, it happens. And look, the Giants, they didn't look too far. You know what I mean? Like a bad team against San Fran either. Obviously, we whipped up on them, but it just goes to show you, we all know it's any given Sunday, man. So, and I don't think any of that matters headed to this week. Like, let's throw it all out the window. Like I said, it's two completely different teams. I think back to like when we started, right, and to last year and what we have now. Like we headed to the game, we had CD, Noah Brown, T.Y. Hilton and receiver, right? And that offensive line too, man. You got to think about it. Tyron Smith was on the right side. Connor McGovern was in there. Man, everybody was all out of place, man. So now we got fresh faces. We get to roll into this thing with CD, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup, who's obviously returning form. He's looking better the past couple weeks. And then obviously for the first time ever, we get this offensive line back, man. So speaking of that, man, I just want to roll right into the injury report, right? So like last week, right? I know Rico Dotto, he was banged up. We talked about him a little bit on the last show. But he's been for the past couple of days. He'll be back in there to, support TP in that backfield. DeMar Clark, that was a surprising name to see pop up on the injury report, like as far as the shoulder, but he was just limited. I think he's officially questionable, but I think he's trending to go for this one. Chumadoga, he's been full all week. He's good. The only player that'll be out this week is Peyton Hendershot. Now, I don't think that'll matter too much. Honestly, I don't want to take Jake Ferguson out the field at any point, whether it's 2 tight end sets or whatever it is. Shoemaker, he just going to have to continue to get those reps. So that doesn't matter. Malik Hooker, another one, he was limited. Not too big of a deal. He's full. CeeDee Lamb had a couple rest days. Same for Zach Martin. It's good to see the boy Michael Parsons full, right? You know what I mean? He was a little bit banged up. I think the whole community kind of just paused for a minute and we lost our breath when we thought, he might be out, but he came back, finished. I think he'll be good to go. And boy, the biggest name that we have returning for this thing is Tyron Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get to have that offensive line fully intact for the first time, I would say, ever. You know what I mean? So that's good to see, man. And I'm happy to see what that'll look like. You know what I mean? So, but on the other side of that, we talked about Peyton Hendershot being out, the only person out on that side, right? Well, our side. Elijah Mitchell will be out for this game. And he did have a strong game against us in the playoffs. As far as everybody else, right? Christian McCaffrey had a couple rest days. He's good. Drake Greenlaw, he was a player who we seen got a little bit banged up as far as his ankle. It looks like he's trending to go. Juwan Jennings the same way. And then same. So I think that's everybody. Debo, I think he was resting his knee a little bit. Charles Davis Wood, he's on track to play. So it looks like both teams are going to be at full strength. I think the biggest name that we're not talking about for this one that we won't see is obviously Trayvon Diggs. But boy, is it great to have that offensive line back.
Dude, we haven't had this O line together since like 1963, and I can't wait to see the Smith dudes lining up next to each other, man. We've been waiting on that for what,
Forever.
18, 23 games now, 22
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
So seeing that and actually seeing what their intention was with this offensive line, man, is going to be phenomenal. The Trayvon, this is a game I wish we had Trayvon, man, but it's an opportunity for the young man, Deron Bland, to step up and show us what he's got yet again.
I think he will, man. So let's go ahead and hop straight into the numbers for this one. So what you thinking, man?
So off the top, man, ESPN's power rankings have us fifth, the 49ers first. The power rankings, we'll see. You know what I mean? Because come Monday morning, we might just be number one on this list.
Yeah, which is perfect, man. Like something about being that underdog and being doubted, I think is awesome, man. And how much does it like give these guys like as far as like the energy and something to shoot for? It's like, okay, like this is your number one team. It reminds me of like Black Panther, and then I was like, this is your king. Like I want to come out there and kind of have that same feeling, do you know what I mean, what we're gonna do to him, man. But two strong teams, obviously, man, and very similar in a lot of ways.
You look at the numbers too, man. Offensively, points per game, Dallas is averaging 31, San Fran 31.3. Very, very tight there. Points allowed per game on the defensive side, man. Dallas is sitting at 10.3, San Fran 14.5. Something's got to give here, right?
Yeah. And really like those 10 points, man. Like honestly, that the average is out, but that was just one game.
Right.
Just one game, but definitely both teams strong on the defensive side of the ball, man. I think it's gonna be a lot of certain areas we can attack. I think we can attack them in the secondary a little bit. But that front, like boy, who we get, man, they beast, man. We got two strong fronts going against each other this week.
We've got a slight advantage on the third down efficiency, which is one of the most important aspects of the game, man. About a 5% difference there. And we've been doing a decent job on third down as well since Kellen Moore left the building.
Yeah.
Uh,
And now go ahead.
no, you got it.
Now I was going to say, as far as third down efficiency, man. Obviously, like we're number one in the league, and I think that's been one of our strong suits. It just seems like we're always converting, and I think that's going to be big this game. We're going to have to stay on the field. We're going to have to obviously keep those, those things turning, the clock turning. We're going to have to take care of the ball this week, so it's going to be a big game. But third down efficiency is one of the things that popped to me. I think that's going to be key this week.
Yeah, I think it's a very important stat. Plays per game, we're sitting at 70.5, and San Francisco sitting at 63. Those numbers to me say that Dallas is sustaining drives a little longer, eating a little more clock, controlling the clock, and doing their thing on offense against these other teams. It's not just big splash plays, and the defense has to go right back out there. They're giving the defense an opportunity to rest, to be able to come out and pin their ears back.
Which obviously will be big, man. So all of that goes to say, man, I think it'll be a big game for TP. We just gotta continue to lean that way. And then I'm looking at the sacks allowed, you know what I mean? And it's kind of just similar, you know what I mean? And it could be so skewed at this point of the season. I think, our offensive line finally getting it back and forth strength. Obviously Tyron was out, and then Tyler was out, and Zach was out. Even Tyler was out. So we've never had these guys together. And especially this season, it's been makeshift all the way around the board. But definitely important as far as sacks allowed, and then obviously getting after the quarterback. You know what I mean? Both teams are, strong as that. They haven't been as strong as I thought, hitting to this thing, both with only one sack. But if you're talking about pressures and getting after the quarterback, both teams are eating, and I think that goes and points strictly to Nick Bosa and both Parsons on the other side. Everybody eating.
Dallas is sitting at third in the league in sacks right now. That's tied for third, and San Fran is tied for eighth. On the Bosa side, this man didn't show up until September, man. He was holding out, so he didn't get those reps over the summer. So he's still working to get back in form. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to, take advantage of that.
I'm so glad Chuma Dog ain't out there.
What?
So whether it's Tyne, I think Tyne will be okay. Drake Jackson is a strong player as well. But I think, it's gonna come down to Terrence Steele and that Bosa matchup. Just trying to keep him at bay. I don't want to send too many chips over there if we have to, but listen, if we have to, we have to, man. It's kind of how you got to deal with those premier players, but definitely gonna have to keep an eye out on those guys, that defensive front, and especially Hargrave. He leads the, the league and the tell your pressures for defensive tackle. So he's going to be key in there. And they got a lot of guys up front, man. And, Armstead, he's not no slouch either, man.
Talking penalties, so we're sitting at 29 on the season, and that's for 212 yards. San Francisco 27 for 234. So it looks like San Fran's had a few more costly penalties, but this is a game I think, between two fairly disciplined football teams, and I hope they don't toss too many flags Sunday night.
Facts, facts. So let's hop straight into keys to victory, man, and what we got to do to win this game, right? So first off and foremost, right, gotta contain CMC. And one thing about CMC is, man, like the guy just finds ways to get into the end zone. Not only that, the yak ability. So we got to be a strong tackling team this week, man. We got to limit them. And I thought we did a good job of that the last time we played them, man. Everybody gonna have to play the keys, stay at home, and then see ball, get ball when it's time, man. So definitely contain CMC. And I think from there, we all know if we could take that run game away. And I don't even think we'll be able to take it away because I think it's a balanced team one way or the other. I don't know that they'll fully get away from the run game. But the more that we could put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands, I think would be best to obviously take advantage of them.
Yeah, CMC is one of the most electric players in the league, man, and it's going to be tough to boggle him down. He's scored in 13 straight games. I'm pretty sure he's looking to make it 14. I'm looking to prevent that this week. And in order to do that, I think one thing we got to do is establish the run, man, control the clock, get TP going, and sustain some long drives.
Definitely. Because you look at that time of the possession that we just looked at as far as like when you was running numbers, talking about those key stats. Uh you want to keep that up, right? As much as we can keep that team off the field, we can, and definitely establish the run, keep TP, going. And I think it was big, obviously, like you seen like the first two games of the season how heavily we was using TP, and we was wondering like, dang, it's going to be like this the whole season. And then they kind of came out and was like it's game by game. And then last week, obviously against the Patriots, just see 11 touches. See, I think that was by design. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think they kind of looked ahead a little bit and realized like we're gonna need TP next week, and I expect to see a lot of TP, man. And also, man, another key is just to take care of the football, right? Um, how big of a talking point it was all off season long, you know what I mean, with Dak and the turnovers. And I think they've done a tremendous job starting this year off, especially with Brian Schottenheimer, the Texas coast and just kind of keeping things at bay, keeping it short. The average yards isn't there, but Dak is playing efficient football. I think we'll have to continue that this week. So, it's going to be so close that, any turnover can swing this game, man. So definitely got to take care of the ball, man. And I think as long as we do that, it's going to come down to, I would say, like one possession for sure.
Another key, we got to play some disciplined football, man, and that goes into two things. One, the penalties. Make sure we keep the floor clean of all that dirty laundry, but also sticking to your keys, doing your assignment. As Bill Belichick would say, do your job. And if we can do our job, we can play disciplined football this weekend, man. I think that's one of the most important keys.
Yeah, man. Definitely that, right? And I hate to always like go back in hindsight, but I think that was the biggest thing from Arizona, right? I was like, dang, what are guys doing? Like, they're not sticking to the gaps. Guys are just playing hero ball. And then last week it was kind of like a breath of fresh air to see everybody just kind of back and just moving as one, right? So that's gonna be so important to this game. You're gonna definitely have to stay in your gaps, man. It's gonna be a lot of eye candy, a lot of misdirection, things to get you off of your numbers. So it's gonna be important for guys to just kind of stay at home. And then, when it's time, you see ball, like I always keep saying, see ball, get ball, man. So discipline football, and that goes into obviously the penalties and things like that as well. Gotta just limit their opportunities, and at the same time, we gotta capitalize on opportunities, and that leads me straight into the red zone. I hate to continue talking about this, right? So last week was obviously a week where I was like, okay, going into this one, I just want to see us, obviously capitalize in the red zone. We didn't do that, right? But this week, how good would it be to kind of let's just figure that out and kind of punch it in a couple of times? We might not need it every time. Oh, hey, we might just need it every time. I'm not trying to see three on the board, but I think if San Fran gets into the red zone, I think they'll be able to capitalize. They're a strong team down there, and I think we're gonna have to mirror that. So I think that's gonna be key to this game, and we're gonna have to score. We're gonna have to put 6 on the board.
I think just to stick to those red zone opportunities, as you were saying, we're not going to win this game with threes, man. We need 7. But that also goes to the defensive side of the football as well. Capitalize in the red zone on defense, man. Force them into field goal situations while we are scoring points in our red zone situations.
Yeah, man. Let's talk key matchups though, man. So I kind of thought about this one a lot, man. There's a lot of things I want to see, right? What I mean, obviously, like I said, CD was able to get off in the last game. We get the offensive line back. But the main thing that popped off to me, and we talked about being two different teams, was McGlinchey leaves, right? And he leaves, he goes to a new team, right? And they got this guy named Colton McCovers in here, right? And boy, like what type of start to the year he's had? I know he's wondering, like, damn, what did I do to the football guys, right? You get a TJ Watt, right? TJ Watt goes off for 3 sacks against him. He gets a Miles Garrett. And those guys are the premier rushers. And now he's looking down the pipeline and he sees Michael Parsons going to be on the other end of this. And I think he has the opportunity to take advantage of that. And I know Dan Quinn and everybody that's watching on film is realizing, like, hey, you know what I mean? It's mouse in the house. You know what I mean? So I think with that matchup right there, that stands out to me the most because I think if they do get down into those passing sets and those passing downs and we make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, this will be the matchup that I think will, obviously kind of swing this game our way if we can get in those passing downs.
I can't wait to see that matchup. As you said, I think Mike is going to eat Sunday night. The key matchup on my side, man, is Dan Quinn versus his former offensive coordinator and Kyle Shanahan. I think these are two guys that know each other very well. They probably know what the other one is up to, and they're probably plotting. If I do this, DQ is going to do that. If DQ does this, I'm going to do that. And I don't know how in tune they still are with how they used to operate, but to me, I think that's my most important matchup.
Now it's gonna be big, man. And like you say, both guys know each other very well. But I thought Dan Quinn, I mean, even in the last matchup, I don't want to say he had his number, but I think he knows how to get those guys ready to play against obviously Kyle Shanahan because there's a lot of movement things and whether he's talking to Trey Lance. I don't know if there's anything, what I mean, there per se, but I know the guys are just knowing like it's kind of into the keys that we're talking, just stay at home and allow the big boys to eat, man. And I think that's going to be a very important matchup, man. Very important. But I think Dan Quinn be all right. I think he got his number.
A question I got for you. So the trade with Trey Lance, man. There's some news coming out. John Lynch pretty much said he ain't worried about it. Kyle Shanahan, I think, said the same thing. But is there an advantage to having Trey Lance on this football team, or is that just nothing that anybody needs to be worried about?
I think it's just talk. I think it's weird that it came out anyway. That makes sense. We look right back to last week against the Patriots, right? And we heard going into that game, oh, they got Will Greer and they got Zeke and like what is that gonna look like? Do they know a key? But it doesn't really matter. And I think, I mean, you hear from it like on their end, and when you hear the guys talk, it's just obviously coaches film. Like, it's nothing Trey Lance to show us that those coaches and those guys that do this for a living don't already know. I'm sure we know their strengths and weaknesses and they know ours. So I don't think it's anything big there. It just is what it is at this point. Talk to me about some of your final thoughts heading into this one. Like, what I mean, what are you feeling and what are you thinking and what's the energy like, man? And what I mean, I know how I feel, right? How you feel?
I got a couple hot takes for you. So Tony Pollard, I think this is a big, big, big TP game, right? I think we haven't seen him have that explosion yet, like we did last year, like a 2+ touchdown game, a 3 touchdown game, over 100 yards to go with it. I think we could see minimum 100 yards, 2 touchdowns from TP going into this.
That's beast, man.
Second hot take. I think that this offensive line being back together for the first time keeps Dak Prescott upright all night. I don't think Nick Bosa's getting home, and I think Dak will have time to throw.
Boy, look, I'm marking a dub off in a section if that can be the case because obviously it's a strong team out there. And but listen, man, if TP has a big game, I can definitely see things going our way. And it's crazy because my hot take is it can be kind of like hand in hand with that. Depends, but I think Dak Prescott is out to prove people wrong this week, right? All offense and all off season long, we've heard about the turnovers and this, that, and the third. And even they asked them, post game of that Patriots game, like we know San Fran, they kind of agged them on a little bit. And I think he's out there to prove people wrong. And I think Dak Prescott lives for games like this. We think about some of the big games like Tampa Bay heading into the playoffs. We think about the Eagles going against that defense and how much do we hear those and we see Dak Prescott come out there and have those type of games. And I think this is the type of game he needs to shut those doubters up, right? Like, because if he comes out there and do that, then what would they say next?
Right.
It was the defense carried them and it was this and they ain't played nobody. But if you do it against San Fran, I think it's big, and I can see him coming out and having one of those efficient games, like 25 for 30, 245, a couple touchdowns. And that can go hand in hand with Tony Pollard because I do think we'll lean on him a lot this week.
I think this is one of the most important games of the season, right? And I do got another question for you. Is this a game where you want to show your full hand, throw the kitchen sink at them, or kind of hold back a little because you do expect to see them later on in the playoffs?
Oh shit! I'm throwing the whole kitchen sink, man. I might just go to the living room and throw a couple couches as well, man. Listen, we gotta we gotta win this game. I know everybody been downplaying it, right? But this is big, man. And like as far as like the ego, I hate to be able to lose this game, right? And then after that, the players, and after a while, I don't want everybody to kind of get that feel like, hey, they just bullies to us and we can't beat them. I think it's very important to go out there and get this victory. So it's important. I would give them everything we got. And look, who knows, man? I mean, if we see them again, I think we will. But you got to realize that you got to beat that team, and you want to set the tone for what's happening later on in the year. So obviously they got to play Philly, and those two will have their own dogfight as well. But I think it's important to not only send a message to San Fran, but send a message to the rest of the league that, hey, we here and we're to stay.
That's what, man. When I wake up Monday morning, I'm hoping to be number one in the power rankings. That's all I got from my side, though. And I appreciate you all for tuning into the End Zone Experience. Please don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You got any final thoughts?
Hey, peace. And let's get this dub, man, and quest for 6, man. So this is an important week, obviously. And look, I think we're good. I think we're good. It's two different teams, right? A lot of different things has changed, but the same key pieces are here for the most part, right? So it's gonna be a dogfight. We'll be back on here tomorrow just to chill and vibe with y'all a little bit. But man. You know what I mean? It don't get no bigger than this. San Fran versus Dallas Sunday night. As big of a rivalry as this is, man, and it don't get no better than this, man. So stay tuned in. Peace. You know what I mean? The Stand Zone Experience.